We've all seen street fight videos. Grainy footage, wild swings, and often hilarious background reactions. But assuming fighters stay on their feet throughout, which country's boxing style serves you best? For a breakdown on these styles, check out my video linked down below. But today, let's assess which style stops the hands from breaking, importantly defends the chin, and perhaps even separates an opponent from consciousness. I of course don't endorse street fights. It's a one-way ticket to either ending a life or serving time in prison, so please avoid them whenever possible.
I'm an actual fighter. I've been in probably over 40 street fights. I do not get scared, especially when it's a family man who is 30 years old, out of shape, and has a dad bod.
Please do leave a like for the algorithm. In street fights, there are no gloves. This increases the risk of hands breaking when punches are thrown. In old school bare knuckle boxing, it was often more effective and less damaging to the fists for the offensive fighter to aim for the body, but the hands still did suffer. In June 1824, England's Tom Spring fought bare knuckle against the Irish champion Jack Langan for 49 full rounds. After eventually winning, Spring's hands were like raw meat, yet he utilised the Harlequin step, putting himself just within reach of the opponent, then ducking under the instinctive punch while simultaneously firing at the body with a short jab or hook. In a street fight scenario, a body shot can be useful in either winding an opponent or hitting the liver without risking your hands breaking. So how can this translate in a modern context, specifically when the opponent is rushing at you? Well, the Filipino boxing method could pay dividends here. A slugger-like style which, importantly, sees the fighter remain slightly upright before pivoting and throwing vicious hooks to the side of the body. Jerry Penalosa is a key example, keeping a high guard for protection, not ducking too low to enable the opponent to cover up. Before launching devastating hooks to the body, he'd often also use a probing hand to set up such damaging shots.
So again, I jab high, slip down, load, drive through.
There's obviously still an inherent risk of getting in close to deliver such a body shot. If one bare knuckle meets your head or chin, you'd likely be in a lot of trouble. But the high Filipino guard and slightly more measured approach than, say, a Mexican fighter who likely launches in head first safeguards the chin to a degree. By delivering a stomach or liver shot, the risk of an individual collapsing to the floor and smashing their head is reduced, mitigating the worst case scenario. Therefore, upon finding yourself in close with an opponent who's looking to engage, ripping a body shot like a prime Pacquiao or Penalosa could save the hands and provide time to wind them and run. Now, keeping a high guard and parrying punches is obviously important in gloved boxing. It safeguards the chin and diverts the momentum of painful punches away from the target. But, as seen in the bare knuckle era, there is considerable danger with outright blocking. In April 1870, Englishman Tom Sayers and America's John Carmel Heenan met in the ring. Sayers was a master at blocking blows with his forearm, but this art proved costly in the 6th when he blocked a mighty swing from the American which broke a bone in his right arm. Certain creators have cited the conventional blocks as appropriate for street fights.
How to block punches: straight punch block, hook punch block, uppercut punch block, just like this. Pillow hands.
But when dealing with bare knuckles, I do feel this is risky and puts you massively on the back foot. You're either going to break your hand, fail to fully smother the block, or end up being peppered with constant hits, unable to return fire. Blocking with your arms can be a last resort, but I feel there's still two better methods than this. Firstly, using level changes, rolls and lean backs can be effective, particularly against inexperienced opponents who are wildly swinging for the head. In this clip, the man evades fairly wild swings before rolling under a straight and delivering a right hook. This is where the slick American boxing style can pay dividends, with getting one's head off the center line before counterpunching being paramount. Obviously, doing a James Toney Philly shell is both risky and unnecessary when blocking bare knuckles, but a Pernell Whitaker is a better example. Constantly moving, feinting, rolling, and leaning back. Ultimately, if you can make an opponent miss entirely, with their momentum taking them forward, you'll likely have a clear shot at their chin. Secondly, it may be better to simply land softer punches with the intention of stunning.
Try to intercept. Interceptions are basically hitting first. They're not essentially watching the punch and trying to intercept. It's an intuitive thing.
Joe Calzaghe comes to mind, throwing constant punches and, though not overly powerful, effectively smothering opponents and preventing them from reacting through moving and pivoting. This is where the Ukrainian style of pugilism can be effective, with a primary focus on output, which can then set up power shots down the line. The fighters, especially Lomachenko and Usyk, utilize continuous sidesteps and lateral movements to both pressure and confuse. The softer blows are also less likely to decimate your hands in a real street fight and can give you enough time to either open up an opportunity to end the fight or quickly escape the situation. Ironically, the head can be a bad target to aim for with a bare knuckle punch. It's essentially a 10-pound bowling ball with sharp teeth attached to it. Therefore, if you're going to aim for the head, you need to be fairly sure you can end the fight quickly and perhaps get away. Throwing hooks to the head is dangerous. If you hit them on the temple, it can have devastating effects, but it also means you need to close the distance. If you are up against someone more experienced, they may read the twitch of your shoulder prior to throwing, or simply see the punch coming and evade it. With the possibility of a hand breaking added in, the importance of delivering as few hits to the head in as short a time as possible is therefore essential. With bare knuckles not providing much surface area to absorb or even prevent blows bypassing the guard, I feel the Soviet-style 1-2 could be very useful. Based upon solid space management through keeping out of range before darting inwards and launching a 1-2, the style is both safer and effective. Using a pouring jab to distract and obscure the opponent's view, the chances of landing the jab cross are made much more likely. As a man who's had his fair share of wrist pain, the thought of striking with a bare hand is slightly more bearable, with the wrist being entirely straight and not at an angle. Dmitry Bivol therefore comes to mind, often using his lead hand as a rangefinder before stepping in with a solid left-right. What's especially effective is the fact that the cross often comes in the form of a slight overhand, therefore bypassing the opponent's guard. The laser-like accuracy of this style, I feel, will ensure that fewer punches must be thrown, safeguarding hands and swiftly ending an already perilous situation. Of course, in a street fight, the clinching side of boxing can definitely come into effect. It can be used to maneuver your opponent and potentially set up a deadly blow from the inside. It tires the opposition out, weighing them down and fatiguing them. On the 9th of September 1845, the Nottingham prizefighter Bendigo fought America's Ben Cant in a brutal affair. While Bendigo ducked and crouched, Cant used his greater physique by attempting to throw and hug his smaller rival. If, in a street fight, you are fighting a larger rival, they will likely revert to this if being outboxed. The Panamanian or South American style more generally developed this trait well, with Roberto Duran being a special example. Having moved all the way up from the 135-pound to light heavyweight category, with his 5'7" stature, he often found himself up against much larger fighters. Yet his front-footed style, which sought to battle on the inside, meant he could lean heavily against his opponents, destabilizing them in the process. He'd posture with his head, laying it on the opponent while throwing vicious hooks to the body within the clinch. Obviously, in a street fight, it's unlikely to get to this infighting stage, but a tussle could easily ensue, and once it breaks, short-range punches may be swiftly exchanged. If the opponent is leaning into you, the Panama style revolves around quickly sidestepping, enabling them to fall forward, and here you can catch them. Now, this video is clearly very speculative. In a no-holds-barred scrap, no one really knows how it will develop. In spite of all my boxing training, I'd likely just start throwing haymakers from day one. Whether it descends to grappling on the floor or a fighter being ground and pounded, it's likely the fight will still begin with each person facing one another in a boxing stance. Therefore, to give yourself the best possible opportunity to succeed in the initial stages, it's vital to take the key aspects from each boxing style from around the world. There isn't one style which excels in all elements. For example, Mexican infighting may be great for catching your opponent, yet it can leave your chin a bit exposed. The Cuban style has good evasive measures, but could easily lead to a bare knuckle on the chin if concentration is lost. But now I really want to hear what you guys think. Which styles would you use to build the ultimate street fighter? There's likely to be very differing opinions on this, I feel. So let's start a genuine street brawl in the comment section. Maybe you feel I've got this entirely wrong. Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. It genuinely does mean the most. Please consider liking and subscribing. I really do appreciate it. More content will be on its way soon, so keep an eye out for that. That's everything. All the best. Cheers.